5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 0 is the number of books I'm buying this year. And if you read the title, Why Reading Will Not Make You Rich, don't start attacking me. Don't start being a keyboard warrior yet. I'm about to tell you exactly my philosophy and thesis on that. Because today what's happening, I see a lot of people are playing this vanity game metrics of how many, and mind you, it's a good step in the right direction, but still, there's a negative towards it. They're playing a vanity game metric of how many books you read, right? Yo, bro, I read 10 books this week. Bro, only 10, I read 25 books. Forget that. Next month, I'm going to read 45 books. It's like, okay, you've read 100 fucking books this month. You listened to 10 audibles this month. But let me ask you this. Out of all the books you've read, what have you comprehended? What have you internalized into you? As Jordan Peterson talks about this, what have you internalized into you that now it's part of your equation, that now you can implement the new information within your thought process, so you yourself can create your own fundamental viewpoint as opposed to regurgitating something else, right? So when you're reading, what's the purpose of reading? Like one of the beautiful words is philosophy, right? So what is philosophy? It's a study of wisdom and education and knowledge, right? Combining those all three together. So the purpose of reading, right? The purpose of reading in my mind is the betterment of an individual. It's absorbing key information from a source. Let's say this book right over here, key information from this book, integrating it into me, coming up now with my own original thinking has improved after I've read the book. The majority of the time what's happening today is, and I'm at fault at this, and this is why this year I'm buying 0 new books, is we read a book for the sake of reading. We don't read a book for the sake of internalizing key pieces of knowledge and information into our ethos, right? Actually absorbing it and becoming part of us as opposed to in one ear, out the other ear. And this is a fundamental problem. And so instead of trying to say, hey, I got this massive bookshelf, what, don't get me wrong, looking at books aesthetically, it's beautiful, as opposed to saying I've read 25 books this month. It's a big win if you can take one book. For example, this book was given to me from my friend Floyd. It talks about UBI, Universal Basic Income. I'm still not a proponent of it, so I would like to know both sides, right? I'm not going to rush with this book. I'm going to take my time. Obviously, Andrew Yang has spent his time writing this book, putting it together, and I want to now internalize his viewpoint. I don't want to just read it verbatim, word for word, and then a minute later forget everything. And so I made a video a while ago, called How to Read a Book. And there's actually a book called How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler. And it's a great deep dive into meta learning of a book. Now, I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but if you do have time on Amazon, go check it out. It's called How to Read a Book. So if you're one of these people who constantly are buying new books on Amazon or listening to a lot of Audible books, but not memorizing it. And here's a little tip for Audible. I love Audible. I only listen to sci-fi. I only listen to sci-fi and autobiographies that I can actually visualize the movie and the story in my mind so I can capture it and internalize and actually feel the emotion. So when I'm listening to it, I can now manifest the imagery in my mind, and this manifestation of the imagery creates an emotional response in me. And that's why I can actually remember it deeply. So that's kind of my tips when it comes to if you're listening to audiobooks, is more or less like sci-fi and autobiography books that you can actually visualize in your mind, not really factual books or political books or mathematical books, etc. Or I fucking hate business books. Oh my God, I can't stand it. To be honest, most business books are horrible. But I digress. So going back to the point is like reading for the most part, for this just sake of reading, is really, really overrated. And I got trapped in it too at the beginning. I started buying so many books. In fact, my wife's like, honey, we gotta get rid of them. I'm like, oh no. But then you realize like, fuck man, I've read 300 books. Out of 300 books, how many books do I actually know of, or know the author, or remember it, or internalize any information? So that's why this year I'm buying 0 brand new books. I'm going back to classical books that have left an imprint with me. I'm rereading them with the intention of having a dialogue and a relationship and a communication with these books. So I always like to read books with a pen and a paper. I'll go through them. I'll highlight stuff. I'll internalize stuff. I'll think about stuff. I'll put it down and actually take key source information in me, because the formula goes like this, right? You take the source knowledge from a source, right? You take key information from a source. You internalize it in you. That internalization becomes now knowledge. Through that knowledge then becomes action. Through that action, you get results. From the results, you get a feedback loop. And then you iterate, right? So then you read a little bit more, you internalize more knowledge, but you implement it in you. So the whole premise is don't read for the sake of reading. Knowledge is a beautiful thing that should not be rushed whatsoever. It's like a vintage wine. Take your time with it. Enjoy it. It's the process, right? If all you do this year is read one book, just simply one book, but you internalize it, you fall in love with it, you understand it, and above all, you implement the knowledge that you've gained from the book internally in you, and then you direct that knowledge into actionable steps that equal results in your life, then you win. And this is why I titled the video, Why Reading Won't Make You Rich. Because just reading alone doesn't make anybody successful in anything, specifically becoming rich. Becoming rich has so many different elements to it. Actionability, responsibility, a big one for people, taking responsibilities for negativities that happen through that process. So I'm going to leave it at that. It's like, don't read for the sake of reading. Read for the sake of knowledge, philosophy, and love, internalization, and becoming part of you. And above all, enjoy the process. All right, guys, if you have any questions for me about this, leave a comment below this video, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.